All right, so let's talk about this Tucker Carlson thing, y'all. This is interesting. So Tucker the other day had on this guy by the name of Daryl Cooper. This guy, Daryl Cooper, does the Martyr Made podcast. And man, did this blow up, because he said some things about World War II here that raised virtually everybody's eyebrows in the country. Okay, so let me walk you through this, and then after I give you what Daryl said and Tucker's response and all of that stuff, I'm going to show you a video that Tucker Carlson does not want you to see. And this is the Tucker Carlson of old who had some interesting thoughts about this kind of stuff. So let's start. Here's Daryl Cooper. Here's what he said about World War II.
That I thought Churchill was the chief villain of the Second World War.
Pause right away. You thought Churchill was the chief villain? The chief villain of the Second World War. Is he forgetting anybody who might be a bigger villain? The chief You can't make this shit up, bro. You can't. Look, don't get it twisted. Churchill was a son of a bitch, right? And he was genuinely, in some ways, genocidal. Look at what he did to Bengalis. Look at what the British Empire had done. So this is no apology here for Winston Churchill. But in the context of the Second World War, no, he was not the chief villain. That would be Adolf Hitler. All right, we're just getting warmed up.
They launched a war where they were completely unprepared to deal with the millions and millions of prisoners of war, of local political prisoners and so forth that they were going to have to handle. They went in with no plan for that. And they just threw these people into camps, and millions of people ended up dead there. You can try to understand how...
He's talking about Nazi Germany. Dude, they had no plan to deal with all these people, these prisoners of war, and then they threw them in the camps and they just ended up dead, bro. Wow, talk about passive language. No, that was a plan. They were annihilationist. They were exterminationist on purpose. Oh my God.
How these people might have genuinely felt like they were the ones under attack, that they were the ones being victimized by their neighbors and by all these, by the Allied powers. You have like letters from commandants of these makeshift camps that they're setting up for these millions of people who are surrendering or people they're rounding up. And they're writing back to the high command in Berlin saying, we can't feed these people. We don't have the food to feed these people. And one of them actually says, rather than wait for them all to slowly starve this winter, wouldn't it be more humane to just finish them off quickly now?
Bro, when they put them all to death, when they massacred all of them, they were just being kind, bro. They didn't want them to starve and have like hunger pains and stuff. So they said, let's just end it quickly. Let's put them down like a dog behind the barn. What the fuck, bro? So by the way, if you go watch this whole podcast, understand it's just historically wrong, right? What he does, what Daryl does, is he takes the Nazi German government propaganda line at face value. So every time Hitler's like, oh, I want peace. Here's a letter to this country and that country saying, oh, I want peace and we don't need to do this. We don't need to have this war. He takes that at face value, right? But he doesn't understand it's a propaganda effort. Trying to make it look like, oh yeah, no, we're pro-peace. Really? Are we going to argue that the goal of Nazi Germany was not world domination? Was not exterminating all the undesirables? Yes, that is what he argues. Now, by the way, where does he get this argument from? He admits, after the fact, I get it from a book by Pat Buchanan called like Churchill, Hitler, and the Unnecessary War. Something to that effect. And the unnecessary war is World War II. Insane. Even as a lefty non-interventionist, the point we always make is, man, when was the last time the U.S. fought a war that like we really should have fought? And obviously the first one that pops to mind is World War II. Duh, everybody was pro-World War II and defeating the ultimate evil in Nazi Germany. Wrong. This guy thinks, bro, maybe Hitler was put upon. Maybe it was, maybe the West were the ones who were aggressive and stuff, bro. By the way, he acts like they tried with Neville Chamberlain. They tried. They thought they made peace with Hitler, and then Hitler kept invading. And they were like, okay, I guess there's no appeasing the unappeasable. But no, he literally walks away saying Churchill is the chief villain of World War II. Okay, so then Tucker comes out, and Tucker has to respond to this controversy. Here we go.
What did they do wrong? Replace with people who aren't from Ireland.
They not suffered enough? I mean,
well, kind of. They were never an imperial power. It's all very weird. But anyway, and worth talking about. But no, Daryl Cooper said, I think the villain of the Second World War period was Churchill, which is a provocative thing to say for sure.
It's a dumb thing to say. Churchill was the villain in other contexts, for sure. Was he the villain in World War II? No.
I don't know. Tell me more. Why do you think that? And his point was, look, there was this regional conflict underway. Germany was pissed about the concessions that it was forced to make under the Treaty of Versailles after the First World War, and they wanted their land back and their population, German-speaking, ethnic German population in all these different countries. And so it was a regional conflict. And you can take either side of that or no side or whatever, but...
Obviously, in retrospect, it 100% was not a regional conflict. In their ultimate aspiration, they dominated the world, Nazi Germany. They had taken over all of fucking Europe. Oh my God, this is so insane to be having these conversations. See, this is the problem with like bro, we're just going to be like totally fucking, we're going to evaluate everything. Nothing's held sacred. We're going to really dig into the weeds of everything, bro. This is like the cult of fake nuance is what this is. The idea that, bro, if you actually read through it carefully, maybe our understanding of World War II isn't actually correct. Or maybe it fucking is. Or maybe it is. God, we're going to go places that other people don't want to go. Yeah, other people don't want to go there because it's fucking stupid. That's why other people don't want to go there, because you're wrong.
Effectively a regional conflict, and Churchill forced it into what it became, which was a global war in which tens of millions of people died. That's his position.
Yeah, Churchill forced it. It was Churchill. He's the guy who started that.
Okay. I mean, I think that's a defensible position. It may be a wrong position. I don't think that's like...
No, it is not defensible. Not even close.
Crazy.
It is crazy.
It certainly doesn't... justify the hysteria that it provoked, in my opinion.
World War II revisionism and Nazi apologia doesn't deserve that backlash? Are you out of your fucking mind?
And so the question is, well, why did it provoke
that was gonna be my
that hysteria?
I don't get that emotional, but I don't think I agree with that.
I agree.
But I'm not an expert, not a historian.
But it's okay.
It also doesn't get me screaming, right?
So I guess I would ask, like, which is more dangerous, living in a society where, you know, people have all kinds of views, heterodox views about a historical event, or living in a society in which you're not allowed to have heterodox views on an event?
No, nobody's saying you're not. What are they going to jail Daryl Cooper for being wrong on this? Nobody's saying that. Nobody's going to jail him. None of that is real. This is their bullshit. Like, actually, I'm a victim because I was doing apologetics for Adolf Hitler. No, you're fucking not.
An 80-year-old event. I mean, you know, it's not a close call for me. You want to live in a free society where inquiry, free inquiry is encouraged, or certainly allowed. And
oh my God.
Anyway, but the point is, why the hysteria? And I think if you take 3 steps back, I think this is right. What you're looking at is like is the end of an 80-year cycle, and the end of a certain way of thinking about the world, the end of a certain way of administering the world, institutions which have run the West and to some extent the East since 1945. That's all kind of going away very fast, actually. Economic power, political power, cultural power is all moving east. And that's tough for me as an American to accept. It's very upsetting to me, actually.
I mean, this is just so dishonest. And Tucker knows this is dishonest. He knows that's not true. He knows the backlash is because this guy has an insane perspective on World War II. And he's trying to shift blame away from Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany and shift it onto Winston Churchill in the context of World War II. Again, you want to talk about Bengalis? That's a separate conversation. Winston Churchill was genocidal. On the issue of World War II, no, Adolf Hitler is the evil. Oh my God. The chief villain is Adolf Hitler. Okay, so now, understand, he's making these arguments trying to defend Daryl. Oh, you know, this is all about free speech, and that's why people are coming after us, because they hate free speech. Look at how fucking dishonest this is. No, you're saying moronic things, and people are pointing out, hey, that's fucking moronic, right? Okay, so in Tucker's mind, he's already like, Daryl's not a fucking Nazi apologist, bro. He's just a truth seeker, bro. And he's just got some heterodox views, bro. All right, let's take a look at Daryl. He did a long tweet thread. Trying to defend his point that, like, Churchill was the chief villain. Look at one of these tweets. Hitler tried again, going on the radio to broadcast a call for peace directly to the British people. He would give back the parts of Poland that were not majority German, and he would work with the other powers to reach an acceptable solution to the Jewish problem. He was ignored. Community Notes comes in from the top rope. The Jewish problem is a euphemism for the racist genocidal Nazi theory that Jews are a corrupt and inferior race that is to blame on all of Germany's and humanity's problems. The solution to this problem was first ethnic cleansing and then the genocide of all Jews. You also have Ryan Grimm chimed in. If you're referring to an acceptable solution to the Jewish problem, you are quite plainly accepting Hitler's claim that there was a Jewish problem. There was not a Jewish problem. There was a Hitler problem. Vile stuff. Also, as I pointed out, he says here, oh, Hitler got on the radio to broadcast a call for peace directly, taking the Nazi propaganda line, hook, line, and sinker, taking it at face value. Like, bro, he says he wants peace, bro. Why are you guys being against peace, bro? Yeah, he says that as he keeps invading places and massacring people and firing up the concentration camps and the gas chambers. You absolute psychopath. But I'm not done yet. So Daryl Cooper, here's some more choice tweets from Daryl Cooper. This one, remember when there was a right-wing freakout over the opening ceremony at the Olympics? Daryl Cooper said this. This may be putting it too crudely for some, but the picture on the left was infinitely preferable in virtually every way to than the one on the right. And the picture on the left, for those of you just listening to this, is Hitler in Paris, France. Hitler in France. He's saying that's preferable to a bunch of drag queens doing an Olympics open ceremony thing. This is not subtle. This is not subtle. This is not, oh, a heterodox thinker who's just trying to question the pieties. No, this is a fucking Nazi apologist. By the way, he went on to delete this because even many of his own, followers were like, dude, this is fucking disgusting. You'd rather have Nazi Germany run the country than a couple of drag queens dancing around? What is wrong with you? I'm still not done. This is another thing that Daryl Cooper said. If you're having a bad day, just remember that the Trump shooter is currently wandering around hell looking for Hitler while the two guys Kyle Rittenhouse dropped figure out how to break the news to him. In other words, Daryl Cooper is saying Adolf Hitler's not in hell. He's in heaven. But the people in hell are the guy who tried to shoot Trump and the people that Kyle Rittenhouse killed. The implication is Hitler is in heaven. This is not subtle. The mask didn't just slip. The mask fell off into a fucking trash compactor and got dropped in the sea. And there's no more mask. It's gone. It's not like it slipped. It's gone. Okay? Nazi apologia. Now, again, I want to be clear. Martyr made, and he admits this, Daryl Cooper, he says, look, the arguments I'm making here via Winston Churchill being the chief villain of World War II, it comes from a Pat Buchanan book. Churchill, Hitler, and the Unnecessary War, or like Hitler, Churchill, and the Unnecessary War, something like that. And he's like, yeah, this is where I get this from, right? I'm a bold historical truth teller. Okay, so here is Tucker Carlson, a young Tucker Carlson, and he was asked what he thinks about Pat Buchanan. And here was his answer. Listen.
I mean, this is part of the sad thing about Pat Buchanan, as far as I'm concerned. And just to restate, I mean, Pat does raise issues that I think are important. I mean, I think that, the sovereignty of the American military, et cetera. I mean, these are not just crank issues. But unfortunately, Pat Buchanan raises them in a way that I think is discredited. And when attacked, he can always fall back on the line, well, the tiny cabal that controls American politics doesn't like me because I speak truth to power. This is actually, incidentally, almost verbatim what he said the other day, that I offend.
Who does that sound like? Who does that sound like? That sounds like Daryl Cooper, and it sounds like Tucker Carlson, doesn't it?
That I'm a wanted man by the inside the Beltway people, and in every sense cast himself as a victim who is sort of a Karen Silkwood of politics, someone who's so truthful that he's being hunted down by the conspiracy that runs Washington. I mean, it's all a bit much. Maybe Pat Buchanan just says things that are kind of kooky.
This is devastating. He's literally describing himself and Daryl Cooper from the past. This is incredible. This video, I mean, I couldn't have scripted this to more rip the mask off of Tucker as well. Here we go.
It's perfectly valid to question America's relationship with Israel. Israel has a lobby. It's perfectly fair, as far as I'm concerned, to beat up on Israel's lobby. But I don't think that's the reason that Buchanan is being labeled an anti-Semite. It's this kind of, as I've said, this relentless bringing up topics related to Judaism. I mean, famously, Pat, always beats up on Goldman Sachs, but never Morgan Stanley. I mean, it's really hard to. There is no point at which Pat Buchanan has held a press conference and said, I really don't like the Jews. I think they're a sinister force in America. But I think, and it took me years to come to this position. I mean, I'm not throwing the term anti-Semite around. But you reach a point when you say, well, gee, here's a guy who has gone out of his way to defend Demjanjuk and other accused Nazi war criminals, who's constantly attacked Israel, who's attacked American Jews for supporting Israel unduly, who's implied that American Jews push America into wars in which non-Jews die. There really is, and again, I'm not hysterical on this subject, but I do believe that there is a pattern with Pat Buchanan of needling the Jews. Is that anti-Semitic? Yeah. I mean, after a while, you conclude it is, in some sense, anti-Semitic. I mean, Pat Buchanan obviously has a lot of personal and affectionate relationships with people who are Jewish. So on a personal level, perhaps he's not, but on a different maybe thematic level, I think he probably is. I think that people should be allowed to have differing views on immigration. I think people should be allowed to point out the fact that there is an Israeli lobby, and yes, it's powerful, and debate the merits of that, I guess. I don't think there's strictly speaking anything wrong with that. But again, I think Pat Buchanan is part of the reason it's so hard to have that conversation, because he discredits it by his presence, because he gives people who watch him carefully the sense that he has another agenda that has to do with personal dislike, and that he believes in conspiracies, and that he believes that the Jews are this sinister, secretly organized force trying to affect American politics. And those aren't discussions I think normal people, sober people should be having, because I think they're ludicrous.
That is literally, all of that is exactly right about Daryl Cooper too, by the way. Here he is, just a flat-out Nazi apologist. It's not subtle. It's not subtle. It's very in your face. It's very clear. It's very obvious. And then when a guy like Daryl, talks about the Israel-Palestine conflict and says things that, in that instance, may be correct, well, you should undermine the whole pro-Palestine movement, because it doesn't take much digging to find out you're just a Nazi apologist. And I'm being kind by saying apologist at the end of it, obviously, right? That's very kind of me to say apologist, not just Nazi, right? And he's describing it perfectly about Pat Buchanan. And this also applies today to Daryl Cooper and to himself. The tiny cabal in Washington hates me because I'm a truth teller. This is the little tap dance he does too with his shitty show. But no, sometimes you're just fucking wrong. These people are just wrong. And they're saying things that are incorrect. They're saying things that are stupid. And that's what the backlash is. And so you try, I'm being canceled. No. You're saying things that are untrue, and people are correcting the record, and you don't like it. Well, if you try to do World War II revisionism, yeah. That's a sacred cow for a reason. Because the view we've collectively come to as a society on that is correct. And to try to re-debate that, lost your damn mind. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop. And watch that video on screen right now. You want to.